Hello Year 3 and welcome to the start of a new maths topic. This is my second attempt at this, so hopefully I'm not going to mess this up. So maths is going to follow the same plan as it usually does in class. Most lessons are going to have a PowerPoint presentation following the same format of some teaching. Then you're having a go at practicing. Then you're having a go at the do it bit. Then there'll be a few harder questions towards the end with the secure it and the deepen it that involve reasoning and applying the learning you've just picked up in that session. For a lot of this lesson, I will disappear when the PowerPoint presentation is on board, but you'll still hear me talking over the top of it. Occasionally, I'll pause the video and may show you some extra pictures that aren't on the slides just to deepen your understanding. And hopefully, I won't get in a muddle with the pausing and the playing like I did earlier. So, I'm just going to share with you the first slide. Presentation, and again, I've already jumped on too far. There you go. Right, let's just have a look at this quick slide of the girl in the ginger hair. Doesn't seem to be very happy with the little boy. Wait a minute, why did PJ get 4 sandwiches and I only got 2? If you look closely, has PJ had more sandwiches or something different happened? Yeah, they've both had the same amount of sandwiches, it's just been cut differently. So the girl's one whole sandwich has been cut into how many pieces? That's right, 2. Remember what one whole cut into 2 parts is called? That's called half, isn't it? Yeah. 2 halves make 1 whole. The boy's sandwiches have been cut to how many pieces? 4. Can you remember what they are called from your 2? They're called quarters. He's got 4 quarters, she's got 2 halves, but they've both got the same amount of sandwich. So what topic do you think we're about to do if we're talking about halves and quarters? That's right. For the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at fractions. Fractions, as I've just touched upon, are wholes being cut into parts. But to be proper fraction work, all those parts must be the same size. It doesn't matter whether it's cut into 100 parts that are the same size, 2 parts, 3 parts, but they must be the same size to be able to do fraction work. So we're going to spend a lot of today talking about equal parts. And a fraction just means a part of a whole. If you think about it as your whole being divided into pieces, division is something you've already done in maths with number, and that's all that fractions work really is. Some children find fractions, oh, I can't do fractions, it's hard, but in actual fact, it's just like division. We're dividing shapes, and then we end up using fractions to divide numbers and find fractions of numbers. But at the end of the day, it's just division, just in a different way. So by the end of this session, hopefully you can recognise equal parts, and that's our first step on our fractions work. So if you look at the pizza on the left, how many equal parts has it been cut into? That's right, there are 8, and we call those 8s. Each of those 8s has got a different topping on, but they are all the same size, so they are equal parts. And if you look at the rectangle on the right, over here, the one rectangle has been cut in half, and then each half has been cut into 2 more. Altogether, there are 4 parts, but they are all the same size. So this shape has been cut into, that's correct, it's been cut into quarters. So 4 quarters make a whole, and 8 eighths also make a whole. This whole has been split into 2 equal parts. What do we call those? It tells you on the slide, my usual question. These halves make a whole. 2 halves make 1 whole. I'm hoping not to get in a muddle here, but I'm just about to pause the slideshow. And you can still see me, hopefully. So I'm going to show you some more pictures, and I want you to decide whether you think they are half or not. So half was 2 equal pieces. Is that a half? Hopefully you all said no, because there are 2 pieces, but they're not equal in size. If that was a friend breaking a chocolate bar and then you got to pick, you would definitely pick the large half. There's no such thing as a large half. It's not a half if one bit is bigger than the other. What about this one? Cut down the middle? Or has it been cut down the middle? Again, if that was a pizza and you liked the pizza, which half would you have? If you're going for the big half, is that half? No, it's not. Okay, so they're not equal parts. One more. This one looks a bit of a trickier shape, so if you wanted to pause the video while you have a think. Okay. Who went for not whole, not half, sorry. Okay, who went for a half? It is indeed a half, because although it's a funny shape, this is like a line of symmetry down the middle. This, like a butterfly, this side would fold over to this side. So both of those are actually a mirror image of each other, but they are the same size. Two halves making a whole of a rather funny T shape. So that is two halves make a whole. Let's try and go back to the presentation. Success. Right, I've got 12 slices of cake to share. Which slice would you like to pick and why? Well, I should imagine that you greedy children have mostly all picked the big slice. Now, remember what I said earlier? Are they all equal shares? No, they're not. So, although there are 12 slices, they're not all the same size. So we couldn't really use this for fraction work. Fractions, if we were going to talk about a 12th, would all need to be the same. So this one would need to be smaller and all the others would be a little bit bigger. Right, this is your turn to have a go at practice it. Now, bear with me. That was just the light which is on a sensor going off. It can't tell where I am sat by the desk, and after you lot go home, the light sensors come on to save wasting electricity in rooms. So apologies for that. Right, usually you'd have this printed out. If you could ask an adult to try and draw this for you, you could have a go yourself, but it needs to be reasonably accurate if we're going to be doing fraction work. It says used different colours to show how this shape can be split into equal parts. And there's more than one answer because I can see lots of different ways of doing equal parts. So I'm going to pause the video while you have a go at drawing that and have a go at showing an equal parts. Okay. Now, I hope you're colouring in with neater than mine, but I was trying to use a highlighter on the computer screen, and that never comes out particularly neat. And if you see, I wonder if you coloured in yours like mine. I have got 2 whole rows coloured in yellow and 2 whole rows coloured in pink. So I have got 2 equal parts that should be the same size. So I have done halves. I should imagine some of you may have done 4 different coloured stripes. Then you would have done quarters. Or you may have done this, your stripes going the other way. And if you've got 5 different stripes, then you have coloured it into fifths. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. Some of you may have worked out by counting the squares. How many squares can you see altogether? Because this looks very much like an array. If you think back to the multiplication work we did, we've got 5 this way and 4 that way. So 4 5s or 5 4s, there are 20 squares. And if we've coloured in half of them, how many should we have coloured in? Correct, 10. And so if we count, yeah, we've got 5, 10 coloured in and another 5, 10 coloured in a different colour. So half of 20 is 10. So fractions is also linked to number work as well. Now we did the practice it together. I want you to have a go now at drawing 2 other different ways. It may be one of the ones I just suggested. I'm going to practice it on the do it. And then I'm going to pause. You can pause the video and then I'm going to briefly explain the next slide afterwards. Here you have another do it. There's only 6 squares. So I wonder how you may shade this into equal parts. It doesn't say how many equal parts, so that is up to you. The Secure It slide, it says, can you split the lollipops into 3 equal groups? That's starting to think about fractions as being parts of a number, not just parts of a shape. It may be that you could get the same number of items such as coins, buttons, toys that are all the same sort of size as they're in the picture, and use that as equipment to help you. And the final question of today's lesson, the Deepen It. There is an odd one out question. It says 3 children have folded their paper strips in different ways. Which strip is the odd one out? Now there are 2 different answers I can see that you could give, both of which would be right, but see if you can find the answer that is to do with equal parts. You may end up finding both, but I do want you to try and find the one which is to do with equal parts, which is what today's lesson has all been about. And if you've managed to complete the Deepen It, then I look forward to seeing how we do with our maths again tomorrow.